All right, guys, so today in front of me from Found North, we have their batch 6, and this whiskey has a lot to offer. So the age range on these whiskeys is 17 to 26 years. Mash bill on this one is 87% corn, 12% rye, 1% malted barley. And the whiskeys were aged in new Hungarian oak, new American oak, and ex-bourbon barrels. The primary component of this one actually makes up 65% of the blend for batch 2, only aged for 20 additional months. I was definitely a fan of the batch 5. How is this batch 6 going to turn out? One way to find out, guys. Without further ado, let's go. All right, guys, so as I stated, the mash bill on this one is 87% corn, 12% rye, 1% malted barley. Comes in at 128.2 proof. Let's get in the nose. This reminds me of the maple, there's like the maple syrup, like oatmeal kind of thing going on there. It's definitely, you definitely pick up some of the, some corn in there as well, some of that corn sweetness, but it's like this maple syrup kind of oats type thing going on the nose there. And there's also, like, further into the glass, you start to pick up some of the baking spices. So you start to pick up like some apple cinnamon, and then further away it's like some maple syrup, some kind of like oatiness a little bit. Yeah, so further away it's like maple syrup. There's dark honey. You get like a hint of like some butterscotch. So a lot of sweetness further away, and then further into the glass, you pick up like this apple cinnamon. You definitely pick up some sweetness from the corn, though, too, further into the glass as well. Really, really nice nose on this one. Very sweet, mildly spicy. Yeah, that butterscotch, maple syrup, corn sweetness, apple cinnamon thing going on. It's beautiful nose. Let's get in the palate, guys. Cheers. Man, that is damn good. Those flavors are kind of all over the place. It's like, so I pick up a really kind of strange note there on the back of the palate. It's like a little bit of like maybe some tarragon, like some like, it's like a really like kind of vanilla richness, and then kind of like black licorice kind of thing going on there on that first sip. But then like on the front of the palate is like this dark honey butterscotch kind of thing going on. Very, very sweet. Middle of the palate, get a little bit of that rye spice, a little bit of that proof hit too. I mean, 128 proof, not shy. But then yeah, it's like a little bit like some tarragon again, like vanilla kind of licorice thing going on. Almost like actually, it almost kind of turned into like a tea a little bit, like a black tea kind of note that sits there. Definitely kind of herbal. Then the finish, nice kind of long finish on this one. Medium to long finish, a little bit on that longer side. Man, that's really good. Let's get into the second sip, guys. Yeah, I mean, the corn sweetness, it makes this thing very, very oily. It's like this honey butterscotch kind of sweetness on the front of the palate. And then like the middle of the palate, again, some of that spice so kind of lingers on there a little bit. Like rye spices. And then again, there's like this herbalness, almost like a tarragon or like a black tea kind of thing going on the mid to back palate. And then as that kind of goes down, like there's this kind of dark fruit that starts to appear, like right during that finish, like a little bit of a plum maybe. Definitely some darker fruit that starts to appear there. And again, you're talking about some pretty old whiskeys in here. Again, I mean, aging from 17 to 26 years. You know, it almost does remind me of like a kind of like a tobacco plum kind of thing that starts to like appear there on that mid to back palate to finish. It's like all these different flavors on that mid to back palate. It's almost kind of confusing a little bit. Like it's almost like a tarragon, but then it's almost like that licorice, but then it also kind of has this this kind of like pipe tobacco kind of vibe to it. Man, it's really, really good. The flavors definitely play around with the palate a little bit. I mean, I've never been so confused on some of these flavors before. So really, like that, say that mid to back palate into the finish just starts to play around with a lot of flavors. It's really good though, damn good. Let's get the last sip, guys. Cheers. So that last sip definitely changed a little bit. So again, on the front of the palate, there's a lot of that sweetness. There's like that corn sweetness. There's some dark honey, some butterscotch kind of sweetness going on there. And then in the middle of the palate, I get this like slight kind of maple syrup vibe after those spices kind of died down. And then from the mid to back palate, that tea note kind of went away, and it becomes more of like a pipe tobacco. It's like a pipe tobacco kind of like in like a dark, like a plum kind of that's just mingled in there. But you still get a small hint of that tarragon. There's like this like slight like licorice kind of vibe, and it's really hard to kind of distinguish these two, like the tobacco and like that black licorice kind of vibe. But there's still some of that like vanilla kind of sweetness that like starts to develop there on the back as well. A very interesting palate, but in a good way. It's very it kind of confuses me a little bit, like on the mid to back palate and into the finish. Either way, damn good batch 6 here by Found North. So I want to thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. I want to send a big thank you over to Nick and team at Found North for supplying me with the sample here to review on the channel. Honestly, if I had to pick between batch 5 and batch 6, I would definitely go batch 6. I think batch 5 was great. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed batch 5, but batch 6 I think is unique. I don't know if I've ever tasted a whiskey that kind of goes down this path, from like, super sweet on the front into this like earthy kind of herbal, tobacco-esque kind of thing. And I really, really like that. And then on top of that, I believe this is the highest proof whiskey they've put out, if I'm not mistaken. But I love that initial burst of that proof hitting you. And again, it's not very high on rye, so it was definitely the proof that was that spice bite. But again, just a beautiful, well done blend here by Found North. But guys, if you're looking for more reviews like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button and bell notification to be alerted of any upcoming reviews or live streams. You also find me on Instagram at Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. Until next time, guys, stay dusty.